Hello and welcome back to Hell Fortress Cathedral Midnight, the Enochian Terror Transmissions. Today it is my pleasure and my honor to have Backxwash on the show today, the horrorcore cryptid queen. The Polaris Prize winning rapper is here to tell us all about her new album, staying grounded in the face of overwhelming success, and much, much more.
Hello there.
Hello, how's it going?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay, and yourself?
Oh, I am great. I just had a long weekend out on the co-op, digging ditches and running errands for people. I'm tired, but it's been a long, productive weekend, so I'm feeling good.
Nice. Hope you're able to get some rest.
Yeah, I'll be able to get a little bit of rest, and then it's back to work tomorrow and more errands to do. It's pretty hectic time to be alive, but hey, you know.
Yeah. How's COVID that side?
It's getting better. Nice. I mean, we maybe do. See, all the old people are vaccinated now, and most of the sick people are vaccinated now. So now we're just kind of waiting for kind of the younger, healthy people to be vaccinated.
Okay.
And so my demographic, and hey, hopefully that happens soon, because I don't know, I want to go traveling. I want to be able to run around.
Hell yeah, you should come this side as well.
I fucking will. That's on the menu. It's on the agenda.
Hell yeah.
How are things on your end? I'm hearing lots of different reports from Canada way, but mainly negative.
Yep. Yeah, this much is getting better, but like 4 weeks ago it was really bad, especially in my province. It was just a complete shit show. But people started getting vaccinated, so that's pretty good now.
Yeah, it is pretty fucked how the government's they do nothing until they have no other choice, and then they do something really oppressive and stupid, and it's just, yeah, I suppose that's just the way it is now.
Oh, I said sadly, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that just isn't life forever, but, you know, we have we have our things that make life worth living. And speaking of which, I've caught you at a very liminal time in your life, which is between finishing your latest album and releasing it. That must feel some type of way. How are you doing?
It's all right, actually. Thank you so much for being on the record, by the way. The screams that you sent, you know, because you sent like 4 of them, and you know, when I was going through them, I was just like, wow, you know, completely like blown away.
Oh, thank you.
Because I've heard your vocals before, and you know, just hearing them again just like blew my mind. It just took me back to that place. Like, this is ridiculous, and thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. It's such an exciting opportunity. It's so cool to see like my name up beside like, you know, Ada and clipping and everything. It's like, what the fuck?
Thank you.
It's so cool. I'm so looking forward to hearing this album. So it's so nice to hear that you're kind of like in a good place with coming up to the release, because I know there must have been so much pressure on you after the huge reception to God Has Nothing to Do with This, Leave Him Out of It, and the Polaris Award and everything. So it's great to hear that you're kind of like, you're chill, you like what you've done, and that you're ready for it, because it's just sounds like it must have been a lot of pressure to start off with.
Yeah, it was. But I you know, when I was going through this, I kind of had to put that at the side and just be like, you know, I shouldn't really worry about what other people are thinking, and I should just make, you know, music the way I want it to sound. And, you know, once I got over that hurdle, I was like, you know, this is fine, because people might like it, people might hate it. That's totally fine with me. as long as I like it, is that's like the most important thing for me.
Is there any specific way that you ground yourself in your own personal creative expression when it gets to that? Because I know I struggle with that myself, like creating stuff and putting it online and like, you know, wanting to be successful and stuff. It's really easy to lose yourself and start creating stuff that you think people want to hear and stuff like that. How do you stay in touch with your own creative spark?
I guess just like, I think it's like the space that I'm in helps a lot with that, because you know, when I go back to that little room and I start creating from there, it's just me and like my doll essentially. So you know, that just like keeps me focused, and I don't really stray because it's just like me and my doll in there. Yeah, it's just like me in my little strange space, and that helps a lot.
That's fantastic. So I'm really interested to know. I remember, I have a feeling that I know what the answer is gonna be to this already, because I remember when you started off this new album, you were like, no more metal, we're going full industrial this time around, and the new album, as far as I know, has a lot of metal on it. So
yeah.
So my question was going to be, you said that you wanted to make this album be almost like a horror anthology of like horror stories and stuff. And is that what you ended up with?
No. Actually, what's funny was the more that I wanted to go industrial was the more that I found the industrial metal.
Yes.
It was like, oh, okay, I guess, you know, that's like you know, the next logical step, you know, because, you know, I took a few influences from like Godflesh and just like 9 Inch Nails on this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, in terms of like the horror anthology, that one hasn't happened yet. I was kind of thinking of, I like to think of projects in terms of horror movies. So I was like, I'm really interested in those horror movies that don't really have a happy ending, that don't really have the protagonist going through all this trials and tribulation and coming out the victor in the end. I'm interested in movies in which the ending is bleak, and no matter how hard the protagonist tried, they failed. You know, I feel like it's really interesting because people, when they're into like such a project, they're expecting like a happy ending. They're not expecting the ending where, you know, the bad guy wins.
Yes.
So yeah. So when I was coming up with this one, it was I was actually developing from the horror anthology, because the horror anthology project was supposed to tell the story, and essentially I was going to be killed in the end. And then when I started working on the music, I started taking the concept of pain, the concept of pain, and not fighting back against pain, or not fighting against pain, and just like letting the pain, finding solace in how much pain you're in, which is, I thought, would be like an interesting concept. And the album is that's like the main theme running throughout, just being like, oh, I'm in so much pain, but I'm not even going to try and fight back. And I thought that was more interesting than the horror anthology, because in terms of my lyrics, I'm good at painting pictures more than stories. So, I thought, wow, that would be like a sick concept to explore. So I just started writing more and more lyrics, and everything started like falling back into piece. Hopefully one day I can do that horror anthology though.
That's fascinating though. It sounds like the process of becoming like a Hellraiser Cenobite.
Hell yeah.
I totally agree with that philosophy though. I this is something I've been thinking about for a long time. Like I I love the idea of putting yourself or a character representing yourself in a piece of dark art and killing them off. It's almost like an offering to the forces of calamity. It's like it's like destroying a voodoo doll of yourself to stop the destruction from happening in real life or something. I think there's this kind of primordial thing behind the whole horror genre where it is almost we're trying to offer these facsimiles up to just the forces of destruction, even just in a primal psychological way. It's like, here, take this instead of us. And so when these commercialized horror movies come out, don't get me wrong, I love a good movie where they beat the monster and whatever, if it's done right. But I think the most honest articulation of these things is where there's no happy ending.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if it's a social horror movie about something that's bad in real life. Because if you kill the monster at the end, then it represents something like racism or, toxic masculinity or whatever. That's a lie. That's a child's bedtime fairy story. The monster's still out there when the credits roll.
Absolutely. I was watching this show called The Ritual. It's this horror movie called The Ritual, and how he was able to get scot-free in the end when the monster in that, the cryptid in that is based on indigenous folklore. The logical conclusion for me would be that guy should have been killed off.
Totally. I thought that movie was a great metaphor for fascism, like the way that all these people were taking orders from just a room full of corpses in the attic, just like these dead, withered, lifeless things that they were drawing their commands from. That's just such a perfect metaphor for fascism or any kind of authoritarianism. Damn good movie. Apparently the book's even better. Apparently in the book there's a bunch of black metal people worshipping the monster.
Oh really?
Yeah, my friend read the book. I haven't read it, but that's very much up my alley.
Oh, that's sick. Maybe I should take a look into that as well.
So the process with making the new album, I remember when God Has Nothing to Do with It, Leave Him Out of It, came out, you were saying that you want to produce all your own stuff now on your main albums from now on, and then on this new album, you were just like, nah, fuck it. I know too many good producers. We're gonna get some other people in here. What was the process like? I'm always really interested in knowing what the process is like with working with producers. Do you just straight up? Do you give any direction? Do they ask for direction, or you just hand the beats and you're like, fuck yeah, this is good. Let's go.
Yeah. So for this one, I think they're I think I only have two producers, which is Clippin and Nowhere to Run / Code Orange, and I think the reason why they made it was because I'm a huge fan of both of them, and I thought their styles blended so well with how the album was going. And the sequencing, they fit perfectly into the pockets, I find. But yeah, producing for myself, I think that's still a staunch philosophy for mine. If I'm working with another producer, then I have to be a really, really big fan. I have to be a really, really big fan, and I feel the sound could fit directly into the pockets.
Excellent. It's always good when those things fall together, and I'm really excited to hear them.
Thank you.
So you did this live show. You've done a few of these, but your most recent one, I don't think it's come out yet. And it's yet another collaboration with your longtime aesthetic collaborator, Merchant Vaporwave. I'm super interested in that, about how you two started working together, and just how that goes, how you communicate what you want the aesthetic to be, or how that partnership works.
Yeah, so Mishan and I we met. We first were in the same venue I was performing for like a benefit show called Songs for Betty, and they were in the crowd, and my friend Miriam was there, and she said, and she introduced us essentially, and we started. We did do some like work initially, but we started like later within the year we started just doing work more closely, and they used to do projections at first, and also other like design art on my page, which was phenomenal, and I think over time it didn't even take that long. I just like trust their like visions so much because they're like incredible that when it comes to like aesthetics and visuals, they handle all of that, and I just like do the music essentially because we are kind of on the same wavelength of what we both like, and the sound and the visuals play off each other so well that they they like they're so multifaceted. They can design costumes. They can do makeup. They can do like videos. They can do like editing. They can do so many things. So when it comes to like the visuals, everything is in their hand, and I trust them with my life essentially.
The makeup, some of the makeup you've been posting lately has been absolutely iconic, just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's like them, because they're like so like reserved as well. They're like, oh, like I got an idea for this, and I'm thinking this is like the best damn thing I've ever seen in my life, and they're they're just kind of like so reserved, and it's like they're pretty dope.
The people who do the craziest shit are always the most like reserved and like measured and stuff.
Yeah, I find that too.
So yeah, something I really love about your project like is something that was sorely missing, I think, when I was growing up, that like they had it in like the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. They kind of had it. We had it kind of like Rob Zombie when we were growing up, but like the shock rock persona, like larger than life character, front person of a project, and you have been taking the Backxwash persona, from Black Sailor Moon to Deviancy, and definitely in the last two albums, you've been embracing this like cryptid, demonic character that I think it's so cool. I love that. That's the whole reason I did the whole like surgery head thing, and I do like bandages in my head when I play and stuff. Is like I want more musicians like that. I want more like monsters and gods on the stage, and less less bands who are like, oh yeah, we're just boring normal people, we play some music.
Yeah, like if you tell me like any full group of people are the Foo Fighters, I would believe you. I'm just kidding, but. Yeah, somebody actually said something funny. They said, we're essentially doing what Marilyn Manson thought he was doing.
Yes.
And I just like that as well, just like blending in the performance as well as the music, just like blending that together, because you got your visual, you got your audio, and you got to bring those two worlds together in your performance, and you're creating stories and you're creating worlds, and I just really like that aspect of it, and being a fan of people like Diamanda Gallas. Kanye also does that, and just these people who create worlds just with their projects is something that I'm like really really into. Just like being able to see a picture of a concert and be like, oh, that came from like this album, or that came
Yeah.
from another album. I think is like really really cool.
God, like
And sorry, go ahead.
9 Inch Nails Woodstock 90s performance where they're all covered in mud and stuff, like shows like that where you're just like, holy shit,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so being inspired by stuff like that and just trying your best to also create your own world as much as possible is pretty fun.
It's cool, and it's like I don't want to overstate. Like I'm a person who believes in like that art can like literally change reality and stuff, but like I don't want to overstate the importance of this kind of thing in the face of like activism and like organized resistance and stuff. But the act of like making yourself larger than life, and when you're playing a gig, it's not just like, oh yeah, hello, we're the Arctic Monkeys, we're gonna play our gig. It's like when you're like, welcome to this world, like you create this other space where people come and like I assume you seen Death Grips, right? You seen Death Grips live?
Yeah.
Do you remember how fucking hype it was that you were finally going to see Death Grips, at the height of their shit?
Yeah.
And everyone you met there was like, oh my god, we're all gonna meet Death Grips. It was like a pocket dimension in itself. I think just fighting them back against the oppressive cultural blandness by creating these larger than life personalities and spaces, it's kind of important. I think in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like so empowering as well for the type of cathartic music that like we make, being able to find solace in distortion. if I can put it like being able to change our faces, distort our faces, and finding peace in that is something beautiful about that.
And when you drop your shit live over a big PA, when you drop like something that you thought when you were making it, well, maybe this is a bit too fucked up or a bit too strange, and you see people dancing and you see people's eyes lighting up like, wow, oh, there's nothing quite like it.
Absolutely. I can't wait to like if things go back to being normal and playing a show. I can't wait.
It's good. I think it's going to be great. 2022 is going to be. It's going to be great. I think we'll be back into it by the end of the year for sure. But when it comes to that persona, creating a large than life persona, I don't want to dip into the the horrible shitty reviewer like, let's talk about trauma, or like let's just bring it all back to transness or whatever. But like the whole thing with the creating the persona and that like embracing like the monstrous, but also the fact that your character like doesn't have a name. Well, it's Backxwash, but that it was Backxwash before. The fact that your personal life and your character are intertwined. Like I know when Trent Reznor made the Downward Spiral, he always said he regretted not making a separate character for himself because he found the intersection between the character and the personal became difficult. How do you feel about that whole thing? Do you feel like down the line, do you think that might be a problem, or do you like now? Do you have any kind of discomfort with the balance of how personal this character is becoming with how over the top it is, or is it all just like fuck yeah, like embodiment and ritual kind of a thing?
I think it's more right now. It's more embodiment and ritual. When I first came up with the character, I thought it was just like me but just a bit more overconfident, with more confidence than I thought it was. Then when I hit that, when God Has Nothing to Do With It happened, and the music became more vulnerable, there was like no middle ground between like the two characters. It was just like there was no middle ground between me as a person and the two characters. The lines were like really really blurred, and you could barely tell whether I'm writing this from the perspective of, Backxwash or just like myself, because this is essentially myself. So it's more like my different perspectives and feelings are self-actualizing themselves into like these characters.
It's interesting symbolism that like with God has nothing to do with it. You're going to a more vulnerable and personal place, but your character is becoming like more inhuman. So it's like the listener is like going into the woods and having to meet this entity that could like rip out their heart and devour them in order to hear all these super vulnerable stuff. So it's like that. I think that's an interesting combination of like creating a more monstrous persona to be able to speak more like personal, intimate truths about yourself.
Yeah.
Interesting like tools there. That's cool. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
do you so do you I know there's no like predicting the future, and there's definitely no predicting how your artistic how the river of like your artistic inspiration is going to flow. But now, coming off this album, do you reckon that you're going to continue to explore this like horror, monstrous, ritualized kind of black magic imagery more, and like make it bigger and more what's the word, bigger, and just like, I suppose if your success continues to go on and on, like put more money into like the visuals and that kind of aesthetic? Or do you feel like somewhere along the line there's going to be like a twist, and like, are you looking forward to completely reinventing yourself somewhere down the line?
I don't think so. I think I like I like the intensity, and with each project I would like to turn up the intensity even more. I guess. Yeah, I'm really like attracted to the intensity and harshness, because this album versus God, this one's a bit harder on the ears because of just like it's got much more harsher frequencies, and and it just sounds angrier. So I think I'm gonna keep turning it up.
Hell yeah.
Until I'm tired of it, because it's like I guess somebody would be like, oh, maybe I should switch it right now to be more it should be more accepting to make music more accepting to like the mainstream audience, but I don't really want to do that.
Fuck yeah.
I just want to make music the way I want to. So
I feel like because sometimes like I veer off down other musical paths, and I often think like, oh, should I do this or should I do that? But ultimately, like, when I think of like my first album, like Lords of the Video Wasteland, I had this like real intense like need to capture a certain energy, but it's like, do you ever see that comic that goes around Twitter where it's like a lesbian couple growing up together, and it's like, I didn't kiss you right the first time, I want to try again and again and again. It shows them like growing older and older and older.
Yeah.
It's like that, right? The intensity, because you get better and better at producing, and you're like, oh, like I got so close to capturing that thing back then, but I didn't do it right. So it's like just trying to do justice to this like transcendent like intensity.
Yeah, it's it's never enough until you find that right spot. It's you just keep on iterating all over it until you're tired of it.
So when it comes to like, obviously God has nothing to do with it was big. There's a lot of like tackling against religion and Christianity and stuff. And I know you said bring things back to like horror. You've talked in the past about how fucking freaked out you got about like movies that would be on in Zambia about Satanism and cults and stuff like that. And there was this like religious terror wrapped up in your like interest in horror, but it seemed to be have like kind of a Christian stranglehold over it. Would you like? I think would you consider that album "God Has Nothing to Do with It" like from a purely like political, spiritual standpoint, like satanic, like?
I would say it's more. It would be indirectly. I think blasphemous is more accurate. I think because there was still themes of growing up as a Tumbuka person, and just like my spirituality as a Tumbuka person, I wouldn't say it's completely satanic, but I think since it's blasphemous, it also falls into that realm.
Yeah, because I had a feeling that your kind of connection to the spirituality in your work is a little more complex than just like church bad. You know what I mean? Because I think in the last maybe 4 or 5 years, there's been a big surge in pop Satanism. I think it's dying down more as people are kind of discovering a broader spirituality, but there was this huge surge of pop Satanism, and it kind of got a little like stale with people just like trying to mine like goetic symbols and upside down crosses and stuff just to, and that's cool. That is cool. It's undeniably cool, but it's a little like you can't ride that train forever. Like you run out of steam or you become a self-parody. But yeah, you're saying that like there were moments and projects you have like God has nothing to do with this, where you're lashing out and you're making a statement that these restrictive religious things are you're against them, but it's like it is the first sentence in a long thing that has more to say than just church bad, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it approaches it from a more nuanced place than just like just like pop Satanism. It's not church bad just to be like edgy or anything like that, but it's kind of like questioning the structures and philosophies implied by the in the name of the church as an organization, and just how all of those systems oppressed us growing up.
Yeah, and I think I assume I might be projecting, but I think it has a bit more to do with collectivism and God, I could easily look at the imagery that you're putting out, and I think more like about ecology and collective, because I kind of associate darkness. If you take darkness as just being the opposite to light, I associate darkness with like ecology, night birds and fungus, and and stuff like that, and a deeper understanding of like the natural world. And also your lyrics are I'm jumping all over here mentally, but we're talking about esoteric stuff, and it's very difficult to speak straight about these concepts because the symbols exist, because this is where language begins to break down. But yeah, I believe that the difference between kind of what you're doing and like pop Satanism and stuff like that is it's a bit more collective focused. You're more of a hard leftist, and you're not just talking about yourself. You're not just aggrandizing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's definitely much more collective. There's a more collective point of view, and just like the perspective and standpoint in general is based on people educating me just growing up, and how that reflected on the community that we were in.
It's and it's like this honest exploration of the fucked up shit that you're going through, like on Into the Void, like the experience of like, I don't like walking around at night because I think I'm gonna get fucking murdered. It is it is on it is a conversation. It's not like a band like Ghost where they're like, you know, Lucifer's great. Oh, look, we're starting a cult, and I'm standing in front of you and saying nothing, but you have to worship me anyway because look, a bishop with a saxophone. You're starting a conversation or continuing a conversation that is often that mainstream culture wants to strangle and stop. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know. I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking at you about you at this point.
That's right.
So something really interesting at the moment is how there seems to be another intersection between metal and hip hop, which seemed to threaten to break out in like the 90s, but kind of fell away. What do you think is that like? It is about now that's breaking down those genre boundaries again.
I think hip hop has just grown so much that it's just grown and influenced so many sounds that even people that want to avoid it can't really avoid it. Yeah, it's like people that if people hate like hip hop this day and age, then they would have like a really bad time because it's like its influence covers so many places. Most of the drum styles that a lot of music is using today, that a lot of it came from like hip hop, and with it just being so prevalent, I think people are a bit more open to it. I think a lot of the rejection of hip hop in the early days had to do with just blatant racism, and people didn't really want to be associated with it. If you go back to just the general outlook and reviews that people had over like hip hop projects, it wasn't the best thing. They were not saying like the best things, and the perception that they had of it just wasn't good. And not a lot of people were approaching it with like nuanced takes. And now that it's developed over the years, you have the same journalists turning around and saying, "Oh no, this is great now." But it's like, wait a second, back in the day, you said something, pretty ignorant. So I think now people are just embracing it because it's more in their face now, and it's something that they can't escape, even though they try to.
I believe that there was a long time where they were trying to criminalize sampling, like they were stigmatizing like the mainstream journalists were really kicking up a stink and starting a moral panic about sampling.
Yep, and they didn't bat an eye when Moby started sampling, when when Nine Inch Nails was sampling as well. They didn't have a problem with that. It just like became a problem when it was hip hop.
And I think maybe I feel like hip hop producers would be more inclined to, in the past, to lean towards fucking around with metal than metal musicians would be for playing around with hip hop. But I think a lot of that is because of like the culture of virtuosity and individualism in metal, and how collaborative hip hop is. And I think it's only now in recent years that like people who are jaded with the kind of toxicity on the metal scene are like gravitating towards like hip hop and stuff because of the collaborative aspects of it. They just realize that, wait, I don't have to do things the way everyone says I have to do them.
I think a lot of those come into play, but I think also like at the core of it, it's just like just like how antagonistic people have been towards like black music in general.
Oh yeah.
And I'm still mad about them trying to kill off disco.
Oh yeah,
as well.
disco was terrible until like Daft Punk started doing it, and then it was great. And everybody loved it.
Yeah. It's
although we gotta admit, disco is better when the basses are distorted as fuck.
That's I can. I like both.
I like both as well. I just like I just there's something that a distorted bass does that just fucking sends my brain into overdrive. Though a good like 70s disco like violin section does a similar thing.
Oh hell yeah! The way disco uses strings in general is incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of an untapped like flavor.
Yeah.
Backxwash disco album win. Let's do it.
It's gonna be hard disco.
Team up with Carpenter Brute. Just want to know, yeah. So you've got your album done. It's about to release. It's about to just destroy everything in its path. What's on the agenda for you? Rest, relaxation, or are you jumping right back into something else? And where's this Dungeon Synth project you keep threatening us with?
Yeah, Hexen 3. I'm still working on it. I like to get the right samples. I wanna put it out for free and just get the right sample, like maybe not even a sample, just like feature some like narrative, some guy or girl doing like the narration on it. It would be kind of sick. I think like I've already got an idea of how I want the music to sound, but I need that central part for it to be complete.
Awesome! I'm really looking forward to that. That's sure to be like blow the lid off the Dungeon Synth scene.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, but when it comes to Backxwash, are you hopping? It seems the way you've been talking, you're rearing to hop into side projects now, like Ugly Hag and other stuff you've been kind of like itching to do stylistically. Tell us a bit about Ugly Hag. How's that going along?
I start writing my verses soon. So I think what's going to happen is I'll just write my verses, then go record them, and I'm excited to see how it's going to come together. I think it's going to be an interesting project for sure.
And is that like straight up like hardcore thrashy type metal punk stuff?
It's gonna be like a bit on the industrial metal side for sure.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
I think my vocals would be more screamy vocals, but I'm still like at the core of it. It's still going to be like raps in there.
Yeah, I mean the crossover between that really fast style of like thrash metal vocal and rap is pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that's really exciting. If there's if you wanna sign off before the hit stop on the recording, and like if you want to promote anyone or anything, fucking shoot for it.
Oh, hey, no promotion, just like thank you so much for having me. I've been like a huge fan of your work, and always in awe of your craft and your art.
Oh, thank you, thank you so much, and thanks for coming on my show.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Cool. I'll let you get on with your day. Have a lovely one. Enjoy your week, and good luck with the album launch.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Goodbye.